All right, so in this video, we're going to see a U.S. Senator, Alex Padilla, and he's calmly explaining why he's blocking one of Donald Trump's military nominations. We're going to look at how the Trump administration, you know, just completely rattled by a bunch of failures and bad press, has apparently decided to use the U.S. military as a political prop against its own citizens. What you really need to watch for is the just the totally out of control logic being used by Trump's people, and how Senator Padilla lays out, step by step, just how cynical and clueless this whole stunt really is. As usual, let's watch the video in full. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts towards the end.
Mr. President, 2 weeks ago, I informed Senate leadership of my intent to object to the Senate proceeding to Trump's nominee to serve as Vice Chief of the National Guard Bureau. So I rise today to both publicly and clearly explain my hold on this nomination and to demand that the Trump administration release all remaining U.S. military forces from the unnecessary and political deployment to Los Angeles. Now, earlier this week, the Trump administration did announce that they would be releasing 2,000 National Guard troops from deployment. No, not from an overseas mission, not from some disaster response to a region in need, but from a deployment against their own fellow citizens. Around 2,000 National Guards women and men and an additional 700 Marines are still in Los Angeles today. Why? Because Donald Trump needs a distraction. Think back to about a month ago. The president found himself in the lowest point of his presidency thus far. He was drowning in negative headlines, everything from his failing tariff wars that continued to raise prices and costs on working families, to Vladimir Putin embarrassing him on the world stage, to a messy public breakup with Elon Musk. So in order to change the news cycle, which he does so often, to shift the headlines away from his many, many failures, President Trump chose to ramp up ICE raids in California. And when Californians took to the streets to exercise their First Amendment rights by peacefully protesting, Trump responded by federalizing the California National Guard. And then later, the U.S. Marines were ordered in to intimidate the people of Los Angeles. It was the first time that the National Guard has been deployed against the wishes of the state's governor since 1965. Many of these service members signed up to become a political prop. But Trump has put them in this impossible position that he knew would escalate tensions in the region and take them away from their critical missions elsewhere. And it's exactly why in late June, a few weeks ago, the head of the U.S. Northern Command requested that Secretary Hegseth return at least 200 troops from the National Guard's wildfire unit who were stuck in Los Angeles for Trump's political purposes. Because every day that those troops were unnecessarily deployed to Los Angeles was another day that their primary mission went unmet. We're talking about undermining firefighting and fire mitigation efforts as we are approaching peak wildfire season. This is dangerous and unnecessary. And because the Trump administration continued to keep thousands of troops in Los Angeles, 2 weeks ago, I exercise my constitutional duty as a U.S. Senator to advise and consent to nominations in order to block the nomination of Lieutenant General Thomas Cardin. Lieutenant General Cardin currently serves as second in command of Northern Command, the combatant command that has overseen Trump's orders to militarize Los Angeles. But I want to be very clear about something. My objection is about more than Lieutenant General Cardin. None of what we are seeing in Los Angeles through this militarization is business as usual. Deploying the Guard against the wishes of the governor, against the wishes of the mayor, and against even the wishes of local law enforcement, the sheriff, the police chief. None of that is normal. So today, I am making it clear to all of my colleagues my intent to oppose any expedited consideration of this nomination until two conditions are met. First, that every last Guardsman and Marine must be released from this deployment in Los Angeles. Stop militarizing our cities and using our service members as political pawns. And second, I'll maintain my hold until I've been given sufficient commitments and assurances from this administration that no Guardsmen from other states will be sent to enforce the president's political demands on California. And until both of these conditions are met, I will maintain my hold on this nomination. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Okay, so you saw it right there. Senator Padilla just methodically and like with no real drama took apart the whole reason for this military deployment in Los Angeles. It's pretty much what I expected, you know? He didn't have to shout or get angry or anything. He just had to state the facts because the facts themselves are just so completely wild. My main takeaway here, and I think it's something Padilla lays out perfectly, is that the whole situation is clearly driven by Donald Trump's fragile ego. The senator literally says it. Why? Because Donald Trump needs a distraction. He points out that Trump was drowning in negative headlines, you know, from his failing tariff wars to being embarrassed by Putin and even that bizarre public fight with Elon Musk. So what does he do? He creates a crisis to change the news cycle. It's like the oldest trick in the power-hungry playbook. And, you know, thinking about the specifics here, Padilla notes that the National Guard and even the Marines were sent into Los Angeles against the wishes of the state's governor, the mayor, and local law enforcement. He points out it's the first time that's happened since, 1965? I mean, that's not normal. You have a president using the armed forces to intimidate a state he doesn't like politically. They're using a show of force. And the targets are Californians who were just peacefully protesting. You could almost hear the confusion in Padilla's voice when he describes it. He's basically asking, is anyone else seeing how nuts this is? But for me personally, the most damning part of this whole thing, it has to be the point about the wildfires. The head of Northern Command actually requested that at least 200 troops from the wildfire unit be sent back from LA. Because like Padilla says, we are approaching peak wildfire season. It's genuinely mind-boggling to me that for the sake of a political stunt, you know, to get a few tough guy photos for the news, the Trump administration would actively undermine firefighting efforts. They are taking specialists, actual specialists, away from preventing and fighting fires, a literal life and death mission, and having them just stand around in a city that doesn't even want them there. That level of cynical political maneuvering is just, it's breathtakingly dangerous. And we've seen this kind of thing before, you know. it fits into a much broader pattern with Trump and the MAGA movement. With them, it feels like institutions like the military become props for their own political theater. They're supposed to protect the nation, but instead they're getting used like this. They wrap themselves in the flag while using service members as pawns in their culture wars, pulling them away from actually critical missions just to own the libs. And Padilla's response, using his power as a senator to put a hold on a nomination until this chaotic mess stops, is frankly, it feels like one of the only sane responses left. Let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. While you guys are down there, do me a massive favor, hit that subscribe button, and also give the video a thumbs up as well. I appreciate you guys. And as usual, I will see you guys in the next one.